Wonderful. Well, I think we have critical mass here this morning. Just a few quick notes of housekeeping. So first off, we will have time for question and answer later in the presentation. So if you look down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can see the Q&A button. Make sure to put your questions in the Q&A button versus the chat. It really helps us track the questions and make sure that we're able to get to yours. But just know that during the presentation, feel free to ask your questions, but we'll have time at the end to make sure all your questions get answered. The second piece is that this presentation is being recorded. So we will share this out via the email that you registered with, either on Friday or early next week, just so that you have access and you can reference it. And then one quick note of thanks to many of our chamber partners and promotional partners who were able to really spread the word about today's event. We're so thankful for their help letting people know about MERIT and today's event and all the good work that's being done here. And we couldn't do it without them. And so without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Alf Anderson from AARP Maine to provide a brief set of opening remarks before we jump into our presentation. Alf, over to you.
Thanks so much, Colin, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's presentation. I appreciate so many of you joining us, especially considering the weather out there. I hope you all stay safe and warm today. But as far as this new program, AARP is just really excited about the progress that's already being made by the work that Beth and the MERIT team are doing to get people signed up and starting down the path of saving for their retirement. AARP knows just how vitally important it is for people to have some savings in addition to things like Social Security as they get into their retirement years. And this program is going to do so much good. And we really hope that all of you will take away some really helpful information to continue the success that's already been started by this program. So thanks again for joining. I really do appreciate all the attention and effort you're putting into this. And without further ado, I want to introduce the Executive Director of the Maine Retirement Investment Trust, Beth Bordowitz. Beth, please take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I am very pleased to be here and happy to see so many people were able to join us, which means that their Wi-Fi is still working. I'm looking forward to introducing you all to MERIT, the Maine Retirement Investment Trust, and then looking forward to taking your questions as they come. So this morning, we are going to talk just a little bit about the retirement landscape in Maine, which answers the question like why. Many people want to know why did the legislature do this? So that will answer that question. But mostly I'm going to talk about what is MERIT, what does it mean for you as employers, what does it mean for your employees. I'll go through our implementation schedule so you know the deadlines that we're looking at, and get some frequently asked questions, and then your questions. So let's get going. So in Maine, about 207,000 people do not have access to a retirement savings plan at work. So it's about 41% of the coverage of the workplaces in Maine. And that's important because people are way more likely to save for retirement if they have access to a workplace retirement plan. And that's important to the state of Maine because they are interested in people having a dignified and secure retirement. And if people do not have access to workplace retirement, they're less likely to be saving for their retirement, which means that the state may be in the position of having to provide more retirement benefits to assure that Maine seniors do have a safe and secure retirement. So they've decided, as have many other states, to put in place a program that requires employers to register with the state program and create an auto IRA. So as I mentioned, we are not the first state to do this. We are the 8th to have an active program. The first program started in Oregon in 2017. There are currently over $1 billion in assets in state programs nationwide. Maine is the 8th, starting in 2024. Delaware and New Jersey will start their programs. New York is likely to start their program. They've let their contract. And Vermont will be starting in either late 2024 or early 2025. So at that point, we'll be up to 12 states that have active programs before, certainly by 2025. And as you can see, more states are enacting similar legislation. So the most recent state to pass this type of legislation is Washington State, which that legislation passed just in the past couple of weeks. So that has been helpful for Maine because we have gotten to learn from those states that have gone ahead of us. And hopefully that has enabled us to create a streamlined and easy program, learning from what has worked and not worked so well in other states. So really, what is merit? So for you as employers, if you do not offer a qualified workplace retirement plan and you have 5 or more Maine employees, so that's employees with income allocable to the state of Maine, and you've been in business for 2 years, you are required to register with Merit. When you're looking at employees, it is employees who are employed in Maine, again, have income allocable to the state of Maine. They need to be 18 years or older. So if you have employees who are under age 18, they are not a covered employee, so they don't count in your count of 5, and they do not need to be registered with Merit. And in fact, they cannot be registered with Merit because we cannot open an IRA account for individuals under 18 years of age. And they must have a social security number. And again, that's required by federal law to open an IRA account. So if you have any one of these types of plans, a 401k, also a 401a, a 403b, a 403a, 408k, which is a SEP plan, or if you have a simple IRA, or if you have a traditional pension plan, you are exempt from Merit. You may need to certify that you are exempt because we don't know that you had that plan, and there's a very simple process to certify that you're exempt, which I will talk about later. So if you have those plans, you are exempt, but you still need to let us know you are exempt. So primary features of Merit, it is automatic enrollment for the employees. So their participation is voluntary. They can opt out, but they will all be automatically enrolled. And this is becoming a prevalent feature in all new retirement plans, automatic enrollment. So it's not just for Merit. In fact, under federal law, any 401k that starts in 2025 or after will require automatic enrollment. So that's basically where the retirement industry is going. It is a public-private partnership. So the state of Maine has contracted with Vestwell and Bank of New York Mellon. Vestwell is a fintech company. They manage a lot of state-based finance programs, such as these retirement plans and 529 plans. They, in fact, manage, of those 8 active programs, they manage 6 of those programs. So they have a lot of experience in doing these programs and trying and keeping them streamlined and user-friendly. So that's our goal, to keep it simple for employers and employees, streamlined, user-friendly, easy to use. So for employers, you have basically 3 steps. You have to register on the portal, and I'm going to go through that in some detail. You need to send the contributions, so you will be taking part of your employees' pay. You will be deducting it, not paying it to your employees, and instead sending it as contributions to their IRA. So you need to do ongoing sending of the contributions and ongoing maintenance. And that means that if you have employees who onboard, they need to be onboarded into Merit. And if you have employees who terminate, you should identify them as terminated on your Merit portal. We tried to keep that enrollment fast and easy. I've seen employers do it in 10 to 15 minutes. And the program has no cost to employers. So there are no fees charged to employers to participate in this program. some details for your employees. Again, they are automatically enrolled in a Roth IRA. Employees can choose to opt for a traditional IRA, but they need to make that choice specifically. 5% of their wages will be withdrawn from each paycheck. That amount will increase 1% per year up to a maximum of 10%. So if an employee is contributing 5% before June 30th of this year, come January, that amount will be increased to 6%. And that will continue each year up until it reaches 10%. And if they do not choose a different investment, they will be invested for the first 30 days in what we call our capital preservation fund, which is a money market fund. And thereafter, they will be invested in a target date suite of funds. And the target date suite of funds assumes a retirement age of 65. So employees can change all of that. They can opt out entirely. They can choose not to participate in the plan, and they can do that pretty easily by going online or by calling a phone number that they are given. They can change that 5% of their wages so that it can be 6%, it can be 12%, it can be 3%. So I'll tell you right now, our average is slightly above 5%, but that is not true for all age groups. So some age groups it's 8% and some age groups it's 4%. They can choose not to have that automatic escalation, so they can keep their investment amount where it is. And they can choose their investments. So they can decide that in addition to the capital preservation fund and the target date suite of funds, we have a bond fund and an international equity fund. Employees can choose to be in any percentage of those funds that they like. So it can be 50% of the bond fund and 50% of the international equity fund. They can also choose among the target date suite of funds. So if they say, I'm not retiring at age 65 and I'd rather be in a different fund, a set of funds that's going to become progressively more conservative, they can choose to be in a different tier of the target date suite of funds or any combination. And they can make changes to their investments whenever they'd like. They can also make changes to the amount that they have withdrawn from their paycheck, the percentage, whenever they would like. So here are some real nitty-gritty about how the program operates. You as employers should have received an email or a letter from the program with an access code. It came by email if we have an email, otherwise it came by regular mail. That first letter would have come on January 17th. If you have 15 or more employees, you are now receiving a series of emails or letters. One came in mid-March. And the second one is coming today, so you might well have in your email today an email that tells you it only takes a few minutes to register with MERIT. So those are coming regularly. You can check your spam filter if you haven't seen one. Sometimes they end up there. When you have that access code, you go onto our portal. In that portal, you will upload your roster of eligible employees. And I'm going to talk about the portal in more detail on the next slide. Then after you have completed onboarding your employees into the roster, your job is done for the next 30 days. The program will be reaching out to your employees by email or letter, depending what information you have provided us, and telling them about their choices. Which remember, they can do nothing. They'll be advised that they can keep their standard choices. They will be advised that they can customize their account and how they can customize account, again, by changing the percentages they contribute, changing their investment options, and they'll be advised that they can opt out. After those 30 days have concluded, we will auto-enroll each of the remaining employees, those who have not opted out, into a Roth IRA. And then on your next upcoming payroll, after the 30 days, you'll begin initiating the payroll deductions based on the information in the portal. So we'll let you know if people have opted out or if they have changed their contribution amount. So this was the first email that you may have gotten, January 17th, and it says introducing Maine's new retirement investment trust. So just so if you want to know what to look for, and again, register your business with Merit today. That came out on March 12th. The one coming out today, it takes only a few minutes to register with Merit. And one thing I'd like to point out is the email is from Merit. It does say no reply at someday.com, which can be off-putting. That is the company that Vestwell merged into, and for some reason they have not yet changed all of those domains. They are in the process of doing that. So if you see something from no reply at someday.com, it is from our program manager, Vestwell. So a deep dive into the portal, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. First, you can see it's clean, really easy to use. If you look to the right side, you'll see that the first thing that you're going to enter on your first screen is your company information. So of course, before you do that, you're going to be setting up your account. This is like any other account that you set up online. You'll have your username, you'll have your password, you'll set it up, and that'll be done by using your access code and your EIN. And point out very clearly, you're going to meritsaves.com to do this. So the program portal is meritsaves.com. That is where you will be able to register. Again, you'll enter your company information. That's your basic name, address, who your primary contact is, email, that very basic information. Then the next screen, you'll set your payroll up. We're going to ask you, when do you do payroll? Do you do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so the day of the week? How frequently do you do payroll? Do you do it weekly, monthly, every other week? So we'll ask you that. So, and if you have a couple of pay groups, you can set up a couple of pay groups. That's very easy to do in the system. So if you pay some employees monthly and some employees weekly, you can set that up easily. So we know what the different pay groups. And then you'll set up the payment, and that is including your bank information. And that is so that you can make the contributions to your employees' IRAs accounts directly. The payments will come from the portal and then go to our program managers, who will make sure that they are invested in the employees' accounts. That can be done by ACH push, ACH pull, or by check. So we'll have the bank information. You can decide how we get the money. And then on this last screen, you will add your employees. You have the opportunity to upload a file, and there is a template for that file. So if you have a lot of employees, you can hopefully fill that template from your HR software or your payroll software. And then if you upload it into the system, it will populate very easily. And then you'll click Finish Onboarding, and the 30 days will kick in, and your employees will start hearing from us the next day. You can, as an employer, develop your administrative team on the portal. So you can, on almost every screen, add a teammate. So that might be someone who backs up payroll. It could be your payroll processor. So every payroll processor is doing this a little bit differently. Some want to be a teammate, some do not. So you need to check with your payroll processor how they would like to be involved. There are several payroll processors that do have integrations with Merit. And when you enter your payroll information, one of the questions you are asked is, who is your payroll processor? There is a list of common payroll processors. If your payroll processor is not on that list, I strongly encourage you to choose other and write in the name of your payroll processor, because we work closely with payroll processors. We know that makes your life easier. And if we know that there's a payroll processor that we're seeing consistently being added, we can make sure that we reach out to them to try to get an integration and make sure they understand the program. So I work with a lot of payroll processors in the state. Many of them are very familiar with this program. So the important dates, we started our pilot in October of 2023. We had 10 companies from across the state, Ogunquit up to Presque Isle, who participated in the pilot. It went well. We got good feedback, and we were ready to launch in January 2024. That's when that first letter went out that I've mentioned. Our first deadline coming up, if you are an employer of 15 or more employees, your April 30th is your deadline to get registered. So we encourage you to take that action, get registered again at meritsaves.com. If you have 5 to 14 employees, your deadline is June 30th, 2024. Of course, you can do that earlier. You can do that at any time, again, at meritsaves.com. So some things that come up quite a bit. What about my seasonal employees? If your employees who work for you for 120 days need to be registered, and that's a period of 120 days. So if they work from June to September, 2 days a week, that's still 120 days. So you can choose with your employees, you can onboard them on day 1, or you can wait 120 days if you're an employer where there's a lot of turnover and you may think, oh, they're not going to be here 2 weeks. I'm not sure about that one. You can wait to onboard them. However, I strongly encourage employers to onboard early. And that is because the seasonal employees are frequently the ones who do not have access to a workplace retirement plan. And because Merit stays with the employee, if they're working at a different seasonal job in the season that they're not working for you and they have Merit, they could be contributing from both employers, and that really helps bolster their ability to save for their retirement. However, that is up to you as an employer when you onboard them, but it must be within the first 120 days of employment. How do I get to that? Who counts when I'm determining my 5 employees? Again, they must be main employees, but they could be part-time or full-time. So if you have 2 full-time and 3 part-time employees, you have 5 employees. As long as they're W-2 employees. So that's true of temporary employees too. If you have temporary employees, they count toward the 5 employees if they're W-2 employees. They do not count toward the 5 employees if they are 1099 employees. If you are the business owner, you also count toward the 5 employees if you receive W-2 wages. If you just take a draw from the company, then you're not receiving any W-2 wages, then you do not count as an employee. You don't count toward the 5, and you don't need to register yourself. If you're an employer who offers a qualified plan to some, but not all of your employees, very common to have a 401k that maybe is not available to part-time people or not available until people have worked for you for a certain period of time, you are still exempt. So as long as you offer a qualified workplace plan, you are exempt, even if it is not offered to all employees. If you have an employee who opts out, they can opt back in at any time. It's also true if they've opted in, they can also opt out at any time. And if you already have a qualified workplace retirement plan, you use the code that you received by mail or email. You go to meritsaves.com and you click on certify your exemption. You will then enter your employer identification number and the access code. And on the next screen, it will ask you the reason that you're exempt. And there are you choose one of the radio buttons. Maybe you're under 5 employees. Maybe you have a 401k. Click the right button, and then you will receive from us a confirmation of your exemption. This is my contact information, and you can reach me at that phone number. meritsaves.com, again, is where you register. It's got a very robust employer help center. It answers a lot of your questions. It has some videos, so it can be very helpful getting your company registered and continuing with the maintenance of your portal. If you want to know about the board, this is the Maine Retirement Savings Board is the oversight board for the program with the members appointed by the governor. You can attend a board meeting anytime, and you can do that through the mainsaves.org website. And so now I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, Beth, we have a few questions that have come in via the Q&A button. So let me take a look here. So first, how are employers notified of employee changes to their percentage contribution rate?
So before every payroll, 4 days before every payroll, employers will receive an email from the program saying, don't forget to do your your contributions, and it will identify that there are changes that are in that need to be made into the portal. So we will notify you by email about the changes, and you will also see some of them in the portal.
Great. And I think you've answered this already, but just to answer it again, the question is, not all employees work every week, and they have a very fluid workforce. So some employees work once or twice a year. They will appear as active. How will this affect reporting on a weekly basis?
So if they don't have income to take a percentage of, then it's zero, and there's just no contribution to take in the weeks where they have no income. If they've actually been sort of terminated and rehired, then they get terminated in the portal and then rehired when they're rehired.
And then there's a question that says, we offer a simple IRA for our managers and executive team. Will they be able to enroll in this in addition to what we offer?
No. So if you offer a simple IRA for your employees, then you are exempt from merit and actually cannot register with merit.
And as a kind of follow-up question, will you need to offer this to J1 or H2B employees?
They have social security numbers, yes.
Okay, great. Next question is, when onboarding employees already have a merit account and a merit login, how do you transfer the account, and where are kind of the relevant rollover documents located?
So you actually don't transfer the account. So if you register an employee who already has a merit account, and even at this early stage, I can tell you that there are about 58 employees who are working for multiple employers. So because we will connect the account to the employee by their social security number. So if they will already be in the system, they actually, and you will just contribute as they've already made their choices. Their account will basically link into your portal. I'm sorry, and there was a second part to that, Colin. What was the second part?
Rollover documents, if there are any. But it sounds like if it's done automatically, the employer doesn't need to worry about it.
Right. That is the system will take care of making sure that there are changes, that the same the options for the employee are in the portal.
Yep. Is there a report that shows who opted out?
Right. So two things. I want to go back, because the last question had a question. You can get all the information about how things work on meritsaves.com in the help desk. And then the email that comes to you 4 days before your payroll will identify that. And will identify who's opted out and who, or that there are changes to review in the portal. So that it might be that you need to just make the change in the portal. But you'll get that information from us, because it's up to us as the program to make sure you have that information.
Yep. And then there's a clarifying question about the 120 consecutive days. So is it the employees active for 120 days, or is it if they start, there's a timer that even if they work for 5 days, it's just you have up to 120 days?
Right. It's basically the latter. It's a timer. So you have up to 120 days. And if they work 10 days in that period, as long as they've been employed by you on your payroll for 120 days, that's when it's basically a timer that starts.
Great. There's a question about enrollment deadlines. Their business will be active for 2 years on July 8th, 2024. So when do they need to sign up?
So you can sign up as soon as you've been active. So if we didn't send you an access code, you can contact me and I can tell you how to get an access code to sign up. Otherwise, we will be updating our list of active employers every year from the State of Maine Department of Labor. And that means that you would get the information from us next year. So on the same type of cadence that you would get, a message in early January saying you need to sign up, and then you'll have the same deadlines. So they'll be annual for new employers who become newly eligible for merit.
Gotcha. Is there a cap, I think, on contributions for Roth IRA? I think that's what it's trying to ask.
Yes, there is a for all IRA tax, for all retirement type accounts created by the Internal Revenue Code. Essentially, there are caps on contributions. For a Roth IRA, that cap is $7,000 annually, with $1,000 additional $1,000 catch up allowed if you are over age 50. And the system will track that. So if you are an employee who is going to surpass that $7,000, you will be cut off. You will not be allowed to make additional contributions into merit. However, if you happen to have more than one Roth IRA, we of course do not have that knowledge. So if you have more than one Roth IRA, we cannot do the aggregation for you. So as an employee, you need, with the account owner, you need to stay on top of that. But within our own system, we will be tracking that.
And then there was a question a little bit about what does support from Merit look like to the employer in terms of helping to sign up and get onboarded. But I think it's also an opportunity, Beth, to talk about a little bit the support that you provide to the employees and answering the questions that they might have as well.
So again, for the employers and for the employees, there is a robust help desk. It's certainly so for the employers, there are, if you go to meritsaves.com and you click on employers and you click on help desk, you will see there are articles about basically every aspect of onboarding, on doing contributions. There are videos that cover some of this. If you're having trouble with contributions, once a month, Veswell, our program manager, does a webinar on how to do contributions specifically, and that's also available for viewing. You can view a recorded webinar, or you can join one monthly. So there's assistance there. They have an 833 number for employers. I'll just say the number is 833-608-8811. So the team at the customer service team at 833-608-8811 can help employers who might be having trouble getting through a part of the portal or have a specific question. and I'll confirm, I do not have eyes into the portal, that's a security thing. So I do not have eyes in, I cannot help with specific questions about the portal, but the team at 833-608-8811 can. If you're for employees, there are on meritsaves.com, you can download a fact sheet that you can provide to employees. And that is available both English and Spanish. So you can provide that to your employees. Employees also have some financial education resources that they can get online at meritsaves.com. A lot of it points to the financial aid resources at the Finance Authority of Maine, so you can get additional help from those. The employees can learn some financial education using those resources. And there's a number for employees to call if they need assistance with their account, 833-608-8840.
And all this is linked on the website, which we'll include in follow-up notes. So I think the spirit too is that there's a robust system to help people out. The next question is, if the business currently has less than 5 employees, but that changes over the course of the year, what is the expectation as far as the business remaining exempt from the program?
All right, so if they, we know that there are a lot of businesses that go back and forth. They might have 5 employees today, and then someone leaves and it takes them 2 months to hire. They have 4 employees, so they would just basically stay in the program if their expectation is to continue hiring. If you've got 2 employees today, and then you end up hiring additional employees, when the year after you reach 5 employees, of course, you can voluntarily, as soon as you hit the 5 employees, register with Merit. Otherwise, we will be reaching out to you probably the following year.
If an employee is not income eligible for a Roth, do they have to opt out?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
If an employee is not income eligible for a Roth IRA, do they have to opt out?
Yes, it's subject to all of the rules of the Internal Revenue Code.
Then there's a question of, do you have the ability to roll over from Merit to a traditional IRA or another Roth or another investment product as well?
Yes. So again, all the rules will follow. So this is a Roth IRA. So if you roll into a traditional account, then you need to be aware that that's a conversion. That could be a taxable event. So you want to be careful about that. If you want to roll into a Roth IRA or a Roth product, at a different financial institution, you can do that. We fully anticipate, we know fully that because this is now required, that employers are looking at all types of retirement plans and are making decisions about retirement plans. We know that there are particular entities, particularly payroll companies, are out making employers aware of this and also offering their products. So we know that people are going to maybe start with Merit and then their business will change and they'll say, now it's time for me to have a simple IRA or some other plan. And so, yes, we want to make it, we expect people to be able to move their account to whatever their new plan might be.
And then there was a clarification from earlier about a business that already offers some sort of retirement account. Are they, they're obviously exempt already, but can they offer Merit, or are they not allowed to offer 2 retirement accounts at the same time?
They are not allowed to offer Merit at this time. That's how our statute is. So yeah, unfortunately at this point, no. And I get this question a lot from, HR managers who would love to be able to offer something to their part-time employees or the like, but unfortunately at this time, no.
And then if an employee opts out, do they get put back into the system at any time or at the beginning of the year?
They can opt back in at any time. It's up to them. So they can go into the portal and say, I'm ready now. My life situation has changed. My child's out of daycare or whatever it is. And now I can or I was stupid not to start this earlier, and I really want to start this and start saving. Whatever the reason, doesn't matter. They can just go into their portal and turn it on, and then as the employer, you'll receive notice that there's a new there's a new contribution to do.
And then there's a series of questions about payroll processor. And so the start question is, and there's a clarification, but if your payroll processor will not be assisting with managing the portal, how is this information from the portal relayed to the payroll processor? And the clarification is really wondering how payroll will be notified of ongoing contributions, considering the contributions are to be taken from wages.
Right. So this will depend on your payroll processor. So if you use Gusto or QuickBooks Online, there's a full integration and it will work pretty seamlessly once that integration is set up. There are some national payroll processors and some main regional payroll processors that have set up integrations. And again, how to do those integrations, there's a help desk article for each of them specifically on how to do those integrations. And of course, the payroll providers are familiar with them, so they can help you do those integrations. So it will depend on your payroll provider, how they are going to work, whether they have an integration. Some that don't have an integration are providing the files to upload the information into the portal and also providing the contribution file. So you'll need to reach out to your payroll provider to whether you need to give them the information with each payroll, if there are changes or whether they have an integration and how they want to work with that. I will say that once the program, it is really set it and forget it. So there'll be the first payroll that you have to do, and you'll need to go into the portal and see what is happening. And then the second payroll, you might see some changes because you'll have that employee who was like, what? I meant to do this and I didn't take an action and I wanted to change something. But then after that, it's pretty much set it and forget it. People don't make a lot of changes to these accounts, but you do need to be aware that there could be changes and work with your payroll processor to make sure that they are deducting the appropriate amount to make the contribution if there's not a full integration.
So there's a question about, this business is looking to adopt one of the retirement investments that would exempt them, but it's not going to get online until July 1 of 2024. Is there a way that they don't necessarily have to sign up for merit for two to 3 months because they know they're going to have a program online?
Right. So if you're getting your qualified retirement plan in place, right, it would just be complicated to sign up with merit. That will be fine if you exempt yourself in July, even if you have that April 30 deadline. I'd actually recommend that that's what you do. You just wait until you have your qualified plan and then exempt yourself when you can appropriately certify that you are exempt. So I think that would be the way to go in that case.
And then I think just a quick reminder on what the deadlines are again and the employee size numbers are.
Right. So April 30th, if you have 15 or more employees, and if you have 5 to 14 employees, your deadline is June 30, 2024.
And the next question is, we have people who employ who decide after 2 weeks or a month that this is not a good fit. Do we have to set up a call with them, or can we wait 60 days before we set them up?
Sorry.
There's people who they employ who just for 2 weeks.
So you don't have to wait. So if you have employees who decide after 2 weeks or a month that they're not a good fit, everyone needs to be set up again, until they need to be set up when you start, and then added after they've been onboarded within 120 days. So if you think you cannot, as the employer, decide to opt them out because they said something to you about, I'm really not interested in this, you need to register them and they need to opt out if they think it's not a good fit or for any other reason that they choose to opt out. So if you, however, if you have employees that, you know, you think, you know, whatever, this, I'm not sure this one's going to last 50, you know, 30 days or 60 days. And so they're a new employee and you can wait to onboard them.
Yep. And then there's a specific question about who sees the alert emails 4 days before payroll. We have 3 people set up as admin, but this will only be relevant to one of them. Is there a way to choose, or will everyone receive the email?
So if everyone who's set up as the part of the admin team will receive the email. So if someone shouldn't, then they could be perhaps taken off the admin team.
Gotcha. And then can you explain the PIN process for employers to sign up originally again, if you don't have access to it currently?
All right, so it's an access code that was created for every individual employer in Maine. If you do not have an access code, I can send you a form for you to fill in so you can get an access code, because that access code is required to sign up. Now, in some instances, we know that some of those access codes maybe went to someone who has since terminated from the company, and so people are not checking that email regularly, and so that access code is sitting in that email box. So that happens sometimes. We can help straighten that out as well. But if that's the case, the other way to get your, you know, we need to straighten that out, because even if you go online and you say, I don't have my access code, you enter EIN, it will get sent to that same email address. So if you don't have that access code, you can call that number that I mentioned for employers, and they can confirm whether there's an access code for your company. Again, 833-608-8811. Or I can potentially try to help you with that.
The next question is to clarify, if an employer offers a qualified plan to full-time employees, but has part-time employees who work 500 hours, are they required to offer merit to them?
No.
Good. If a business is interested in doing an employer match contribution, is that possible with merit?
Unfortunately, no. This is set up so that it is a state program. So the employer takes on no fiduciary obligations under this program, and they are consequently not allowed to do an employer match. So we have no way to facilitate an employer match. And yeah, we do that question a lot, since employers are not paying the fees required to normally set up these programs. They like to be able to encourage their employees to register, but not available at this time.
Another question about, we're in the process of changing ownership. The closing date is April 30th. Will there be a penalty if we do not sign up until May?
The penalty will not be assessed before that time. The penalties will not be assessed until later, until essentially 2025. So, but we are looking for compliance with we're generally looking for compliance with the April 30th deadline, but there are definitely situations like this, or the one we're getting a retirement plan, where you need to do what makes sense, and there will not be a penalty assessed at that time.
And the next question is, will one employee on a plan and 4 not, do I need to register?
If you have a plan, you do not need to register, even if your employees have chosen to opt out of your workplace plan.
And then finally, are payments from an employer made by electronic transfer from our bank?
They generally are. That's how most employers choose to do it, an ACH push or ACH pull. They can be paid by check. That's during the pilot, we had employers doing basically all 3. So, but generally the easiest thing is going to be setting up the ACH so that you can give it the authorization to go.
And then kind of the final question is, what happens if your payroll provider does not currently have an integration with Merit?
So then you will be running it on your own, it is again straightforward. Your payroll provider will set up the deduction, just like they would any other deduction. It can be identified as Roth IRA or a post-tax deduction. You will give them the amount to deduct, just as you would if you were, if you had an employee who wanted half of them going to their checking account and half of their pay going to their savings account, that type of thing. So you'll give your payroll provider the percentage to deduct, and then that should be on the reports that you get from your payroll provider, how much, what the dollar amount was. Some payroll providers there's a contribution spreadsheet. Some payroll providers are populating that for their, clients to make it easier. So that's a possibility too. Otherwise, you can populate that spreadsheet and yourself and upload it into the system to do the contributions.
Wonderful. Well, Beth, kind of any final comments? I know you put your contact information on the screen. We'll follow up via email with a recording, with a link to the relevant websites, with the fact sheets that you mentioned, ways to get in touch, because we know there were some questions unanswered. So, there's ways to continue the conversation. But Beth, I kind of want to give you the final word to kind of close us out, and anything you want, people to really take home about the program and about signing up over the next few weeks.
First, I want to thank everyone who joined us on this really snowy morning and for your really excellent questions. I want to encourage anyone who has questions to really just check out meritsaves.com. That is really full of information that's available to you. And I think this is a really good opportunity for Maine employers to offer their employees the opportunity to save for their retirement. And again, I thank you all for your interest in being here this morning.
Wonderful. Well, with that, this is the end of the webinar. Thank you all and be safe today. We appreciate your time.